Well, hello, good afternoon. I guess it is afternoon. I don't have my watch on. Hope everybody's doing well. I just wanted to drop in and just share a few thoughts with you today, and hopefully you're doing well today. Hopefully you're doing well today. One thing I want to say to you before I get into what we're going to discuss today is here's a fact that you need to keep at the front of your mind. Life is always going to be cyclical. It's really not the word I'm looking for. When I use the term cyclical, I mean you'll have those cycling seasons of joy and pain. You'll have those seasons where you're up, seasons where it feels like you're down. But all of this stuff is really working to produce something in your character that you otherwise would not have without those perceived difficult seasons. And so, as you know, we're going to talk today about your confidence. One of the things that really shakes and rocks our confidence is when we go through those down seasons and, it literally feels like it's going to last forever. Like it's been going on and it's never going to end. It always ends. It always ends. But now here's the other hard reality. When that one ends, another begins. And this is because life is about growth, and growth is always painful. That's why most people never do it. Growth is always painful because one has to shed the skin of familiarity, what you've become comfortable with and what you've mastered. You have to shed that, and you have to now embrace what's never been. So now you're challenged to use muscles and to find strength that you didn't know was there and didn't know that you had, but you always do have it once you take upon yourself the boldness to actually step into the new challenge. So remember that. Don't be down and don't allow yourself to go too low because maybe the season in your life has shifted and now you're in one of those times. Don't allow yourself to go too low. Don't allow yourself to get so depressed that you can't embrace life again. And don't get so high when you're on when you're riding on one of those clouds where everything seems to be working for you, because it always shifts. Life is always shifting. And because you're down doesn't mean that you're out. And because it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied. So keep that in mind. But there's a word that I shared with the people on Sunday that I think would be beneficial for us today. In fact, on this platform with what I consider to be my YouTube family. And I appreciate all of you that support me, that buy my books, that come to my meetings, and reach out to Lisa and I by way of email. If I haven't gotten back to yours, I get a lot of them, and I try to answer all of them myself. I don't give it to some, other person to read and give you some generic response. I try to read them all myself. So if I haven't responded to you in quite a while, try to just resend it and let me know this is your second time or third time. And at some point, I'm going to really try do my best to get back to you. But I was talking this Sunday about the tragedy of broken confidence, and I was doing a radio interview last night with a young man that has been attending our church, and I didn't even realize that he was actually attending. His children, his family, and he has a popular, I guess you would consider it, a hip hop radio show, and he invited me to come on. And he was just talking about how the message from Sunday impacted him so much so, because we were talking about, again, the tragedy of broken confidence. And he asked me, he said, what inspired you to deliver that message? He says, if it didn't reach anybody else, he said, it definitely reached me. So what inspired you? And I told him the inspiration for this message or this, line of thought comes from my own personal experience. It wasn't long ago. I was flying on a plane, And I was just kind of really burdened by many of the challenges of my life. And some of the things that I had in front of me that I had to do, things that weren't so pleasant necessarily, but were necessary. And my confidence tank started draining, and I was sitting on that plane and I was beginning to feel sorry for myself. And I was almost beginning to take upon myself an attitude of, oh me, oh my. And it was the Spirit of God that really came to me to remind me of who I am in God, what God's called me to do, and the fact that God doesn't make mistakes. If God has allowed me to come to it, He will also grace me to go through it. And so it was there that I began to regather myself and recapture my own personal confidence. And so from there, the Spirit of God said, the people need this. People are struggling with confidence. There are some of you that are watching me right now, and you're in a workplace where the challenge is great. Maybe there's some bias against you because you're a woman or because you're a minority, and you may be white but yet in a minority environment, and maybe there's some bias against you for that reason, or maybe you're black or Hispanic or Asian or whatever, and maybe you don't have as much education as other people, and your confidence is shaken, and the challenges that are before you, you're kind of procrastinating, and you're procrastinating because you're second guessing yourself. And you're second guessing yourself because your confidence is under attack. Well, there's a biblical story in Numbers 13 and 30 all the way through chapter 14 and 1. I won't read it, but I'll recap it for you. At this point, the children of Israel, the Hebrews, have been delivered from Egyptian bondage. Moses delivered the Hebrews from Pharaoh. Well, they've been delivered from Hebrew bondage, and they've been wandering through the wilderness for 40 years. And so they come to the promised land, the land that God promised, the land that God said would be theirs and that they would inherit. And so the instruction was to 12 spies to go over and to search the land out and to come back and bring a report. Well, when they went over into the land, 12 of them went, 10 of them came back with a negative report. They came back talking about their giants. We're not as strong as them. We're like grasshoppers in their sight. We can't do it. And so these 10 negative people, 10 people with broken confidence, came back and brought this report to the entire nation. And some theologians believe that that was as many as 3 million Hebrews. And 10 negative people, 10 people with broken self-confidence, polluted the thinking of 3 million people to the point that they all forfeited the promised land. Only 2 came back with a positive report. And their names were Caleb and Joshua. Joshua would eventually lead the nation. But 10 people with broken confidence destroyed the confidence of 3 million. Now, when we look at this, because the children of God did not have confidence in themselves, there are some things that happened that I want us to look at that I consider to be tragic. The first thing that I noticed is that when we have a broken confidence, when we are not walking or living confidently, when we're not embracing life confidently, the first thing I noticed from their experience is that, and write this down somewhere if you're writing, you will forfeit the thing you've been working on. When you lack self-confidence, you will forfeit the very thing you've been working on, and the thing you've been working for, you will forfeit it. They had been in pursuit of this very land, this very place, for 40 years. And because they lacked the confidence, they forfeited the very thing they had been working on. You can work for years to create, watch this. You can work for years, go to school, go to seminars. You can work for years to create an opportunity. And when it appears, your mind will make you afraid to seize the moment. Isn't that where some of you all are now? You've been working on something for years, trying to create this very moment, trying to create this very opportunity. And now that it's here, your mind is talking you out of seizing the moment. I know it's happened to me. I know it's happened to me. I mean, begged God for, prayed for, worked for certain opportunities. And when the opportunity appears on my doorstep, because I lack the confidence, the self-confidence, I found a way to talk myself out of taking or seizing the moment. And the sad reality is that many times when you miss your moment, it never comes around again. But how many of us rather, are forfeiting the very thing that we've desired and longed for a long time, simply because we don't have the confidence. Now, let me say this, it's not enough for God, because God ordained, listen to this very carefully. God ordained that they should inherit that promised land. That was the will of God, but it's not enough for God to ordain a thing. It is imperative that you and I believe it and seize it. But he's not going to grab it for you. I don't know if he caught the hay for it, but he's not going to pick it up. If you do not begin the process of building your confidence, pushing yourself, yes, that's a good word, pushing yourself into the greater version of you, you will find yourself, like so many others, forfeiting the very thing that God ordained. Now, okay, the second thing I want to show you is that when you lack confidence, just like they went back to the nation of Israel and they brought this negative report because they lacked confidence, these 10 men, these 10 spies, they go back and they bring this, they poison the nation with their lack of confidence. The second thing I want to say to you is that when your confidence is low, you will find yourself discouraging those who are connected to you. You find yourself discouraging those who are connected to you. In other words, because you lack the confidence, you will find yourself going into your circle and infecting other people with doubt and unbelief, because that's the energy you're bringing. So they took their insecurities. These 10 men, these 10 spies, took their insecurities and polluted a multitude. So 10 spies, 10 doubting spies, poisoned the minds of 3 million people who were all ordained by God to go in and to inherit this land. So when you lack confidence, you have to understand this. When you don't work on your self-confidence and you portray doubt and unbelief in yourself, and let me add this, it's not enough for you just to believe in God. You have to also believe in yourself, because you can believe in God all day long. If you don't have confidence and faith in yourself, you will still end up disinherited without stepping into the thing that God ordained. You have to believe in yourself. But when you lack confidence, you don't only commit destiny suicide, as I call it, but you murder other people's hopes. When you don't have confidence, you not only commit destiny suicide, it was their destiny to go into that promised land, but they destroyed that with their unbelief. But not only do you commit destiny suicide, but you murder the hopes of others. How many friends have doubted themselves because they heard your unbelieving rant, what we can't do, what I can't accomplish. It's hard for women to do this. It's hard for us to do that. How can we rise? And they're listening to your lack of confidence, and that thing begins to infect them, and they find themselves kind of syncing up with your doubt and your unbelief, and you don't even realize that you're not only canceling your own destiny, but now you're murdering the hopes of those who are connected to you. This is why sometimes people have to dislodge or disconnect from you. It's because your pessimism and your unbelief and your doubt and your lack of confidence is beginning to impact them negatively. Look what the Bible says in Romans 14, 12 and 13. It says, so then every one of us shall give account of himself to God. Let us not therefore judge one another anymore, but judge this rather, watch this, that no man put a stumbling block or an occasion to fall in his brother's way. When I'm living my life, with all of this, with a cynical perspective on the world, myself, life, all of this pessimism, all of this negativity, I am simultaneously, as I am, committing destiny suicide, I am simultaneously murdering the hopes of those who are connected to me. Have you ever been around somebody that just started talking a whole lot of negative stuff about themselves? They weren't talking about you, they were talking about themselves. And then you began to almost bite your nails and wonder if I should even try. Maybe I'm trying to do too much. They just being in their vicinity and hearing their conversation bred within you an anxiety and anxiousness. It's because their attitude about life put a stumbling block in your way. So when you're filled with self-doubt and no confidence, the last thing you should do really is to poison other people with your virus. Number 3, watch this. And I take all of this from how Israel forfeited the land that God promised them and the thing that they had been working towards for 40 years. Secondly, they discouraged those who were connected. Those 10 spies discouraged the whole nation. And now thirdly, the tragedy of a broken confidence. They left. Now here's probably the most important point. Listen to this very carefully. Thirdly, they left no inheritance to their children because they did not have the courage to try. Remember now, they were slaves 40 years ago. God delivered them from slavery, and now they've been wandering through the wilderness to get to this promised land that they were supposed to take over in their generation, and then their children were supposed to inherit the promised land from them. But they got to the promised land and they were afraid to go and take it. So they died, all of them died in the wilderness, but they died without ever having attained to a legacy. So their children had no inheritance. Now here's the tragedy. Because they lacked the confidence to even try, they died without leaving their children an inheritance. And so now the children in their generation had to rise up and fight for what their parents should have left them. Let me say that one more time. The children in their generation had to rise up and fight for what their parents should have rightfully left them. Their parents were supposed to take the land, and the children were supposed to inherit the land peacefully. But because the parents did not have the confidence to even try or to fight, now the children, after the parents died, had to rise up in their generation and fight for what they should have inherited. When you're second guessing yourself, and when you are, procrastinating and sabotaging your own success, you have to understand this. Those that are coming behind you are going to pay the price for you not doing in your generation what you should have done. There's some of you that are watching me right now, and some will watch the replay, that you should have started the business 10 years ago. By now, the business should be thriving. You have the plan. You got all of that laid out. You've even made all of the preparations. You may even have the money sitting there to make it happen. But because you lack the confidence, you're still showing up on a 9-to-5 because it's safe and because you're familiar with it. And you don't have the confidence to actually step out and to be your own boss and to be the employer instead of the employee. And so now you'll waste your entire life working on a 9-to-5, and it'll be your children that'll have to rise up and actually build the business when they should have inherited the business. So you leave the next generation actually starting from behind when they should have been ahead. You and I are going to be challenged to do some things that will shake us to our core. And let me say this, if you're not afraid of some things, you're not growing. If there are not some things that you're challenged to do that don't make you afraid, you're not growing. But you have to learn how to do it afraid. Somebody has to do this. Somebody has to do this. And having the confidence to do it doesn't mean that you don't have the, that internal shaking or quaking. You don't have that fear, but it does mean that you have a mindset that is so committed to your destiny that no fear, no apprehension is going to stop you from trying. And when you try, what happens then is when you do your part in the natural, then God does his part in the super. And now you see what looks like supernatural results. But the reality is that it's just you meeting God, and both of you are partnering in your success. God says, when you make your step and you come out of fear and you step into faith, then I'm going to meet you. And I'm going to cause all of the doors to open. I'm going to cause everything that you can't see to appear before you. Is this helping anybody? Because when you fail to have the confidence to do what you need to do, you leave no inheritance to the next generation. And the Bible says in Proverbs 13:22, a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. Meaning there ought to be something that you're doing in life that even your great-grandchildren or your great-nephews and nieces should benefit from. But if you're sitting there and you're spending your entire life scared to act, having all of the education, having all of the ability, having all of the knowledge, but just lack the confidence to actually move on it, what good is it doing you? Now, there are three things I want to share with you simultaneously, along with the three tragedies of a broken self-confidence. And again, they are: you forfeit the thing you've been working on, you discourage those who are connected to you, and you leave no inheritance to your children. And your children will have to end up fighting for what you should have left them. Now, how do we begin to, now do this in 5 minutes. How do we begin to rebuild that confidence when it's been shaken? Number one, you must meditate on what you and God have already accomplished. See, you're looking at the challenge that's standing before you today, but you have to begin to meditate on the challenges that stood before you yesterday and 10 years ago and 20 years ago, and the stuff you've already overcome that in those moments it looked like were insurmountable. But you and God accomplished. You and God overcame those challenges. Well, when you begin to meditate on what you and God have already accomplished, it will simultaneously give you the momentum, the drive, the confidence to step into the challenge that's before you now. When David got ready to go and fight Goliath, he remembered how God delivered him out of the paw of the bear, the teeth of the lion. And he said, this giant is going to be the same way. Sometimes you have to meditate on what you've already come through to build your confidence to go through what you're presently facing. Now, meditation simply means, watch this, to think about what you're thinking about. Most of us, our thoughts are so random that it brings us, it brings us from high to low in seconds, because our thoughts are so random, from the negative past to the unscripted future, and our minds are just all over the place. When you meditate, it means that you put yourself in a position where you intentionally think about what you're thinking about, and you intentionally think on things that empower you. The Bible says in Joshua 1:8, this book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate therein day and night, that you may observe to do according to everything that's written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you'll have good success. So when I meditate, it means that I close the world off and I go inside and I think about what I'm thinking about. And in this case, I think about what God has already brought me through, how I've already overcome, how I've already been more than a match for the previous challenges. And now when I look at this challenge, when I come out of meditation, I come out with a strength and I come out with an energy to face this challenge that I didn't have before I meditated, because before I meditated, the circumstances were swirling around in my head. And all of the doubt and the unbelief was just playing this, this subconscious soundtrack of failure and just despair, destruction. But when I meditate, it means I center my soul with my spirit. And now I'm prepared to meet the physical challenges of my life head on with confidence and strength, because now God and I have synced up. God and I are on the same page. I've drowned out the noise of the world and I've tuned into the voice of God. And when I come out of that experience, realizing that I'm more than a match for the challenge that is before me. Second thing I will say to you is that you should surround yourself with like-minded people to feed off of. If you're going to build your confidence, you can't be surrounded by negative people. There's something that Spirit of God just spoke to me last night, actually. God gives me these sayings, man, and I don't know. But the Spirit of God said to me last night, he said, everybody who has a place in your heart does not necessarily have a space in your life. In other words, everybody that you love is not necessarily good for you, and everybody that loves you is not necessarily good for you. And when you find that you're surrounded by people who are constantly dragging you under and pulling you down and killing your faith and robbing you of your self-confidence, you have to begin to sanitize your circle. You have to begin to sanitize your circle. When you find that, when you take inventory and you find that your confidence is shaken because of the people that you have around you on a daily basis, you have to then begin to sanitize your circle. And sometimes you say, okay, well, the people that are robbing and destroying my confidence are the people I live with. It's my parents, it's my children, it's my spouse. Well, then you have to insulate yourself. When you can't isolate yourself, you insulate yourself. And that is, you begin to deal with them, those people that you can't escape. You begin to deal with them with a guarded soul. You wrap your mind. What is insulation? It means to wrap something up. You wrap your mind in truth, and you wrap your mind in in your values and your principles. And when you deal with them, you deal with them on their level, but you never allow them to penetrate your soul. So certain conversations you don't have with them because you don't need their opinion. Certain dreams you don't share with them because you don't need their negativity. You just kind of love them on their level, and you move in and out of their presence, communicating with them on their level, insulating your soul. But when you have people that you can move out of your life, or reposition in your life, should I say, you have to reposition those people, because you don't need people around you who are serving the purpose of robbing you of your confidence. Your confidence is your greatest ally in your quest for destiny. You got to believe in yourself. You got to first believe in God, then you got to believe in yourself, because in many instances, those are going to be the only two you can depend on, God and yourself. And when you lack confidence in yourself, it means that now you can't even depend on you. So you will need people who will hold you accountable to greatness and will kill any self-doubt. You need people in your life that make you uncomfortable. You need a circle of people in your life that make you uncomfortable. People that won't let you settle. People that know when you're trying to bail. People that know when you're sabotaging. And people that will love you enough to step to you and say, I see what you're doing. You're not going to do this. This is who you are. This is where you're going. And I'm not going to let you sabotage your own destiny. You need a circle of people that are like-minded, who will hold you accountable, and people, watch this, that you will hold accountable. But isn't it amazing how it's easier for us to believe in somebody else than it is for us to believe in ourselves? We can promote and push other people into their destiny, and we can see their destiny clearer than we can see our own, and we can have more faith in them accomplishing what they want to accomplish than we can have faith in our accomplishing what we need to accomplish for ourselves. All right, number 3, and then I'm done. I've been talking a half hour. Number 3, and finally, in building your confidence, number 1, we said you have to meditate on what you've already accomplished between you and God. Secondly, you must surround yourself with like-minded people to feed off of. The Bible says iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. You got to have like-minded people, and those like-minded people, iron on iron creates friction. These people quite often create friction in your life, but they also sharpen you. They make you better. And then watch this, number 3, and I'm done. Number 3, and I'm done. Get organized. Get yourself organized. Whatever it is that's in front of you, get organized and just do it. Get organized. Get your business plan together. Get organized. Make your financial arrangements. Get organized. Create your partnerships. Get organized. Go to the classes. Take the courses you need to take. Get organized. But once you've organized, just do it. Now, don't be like a whole lot of these people who, want to dot every I and cross every T before they start. No. Get the basics done and jump into it. You'll modify as you go. But you gotta just jump to it. You can't keep procrastinating. Well, I need to get this right. I need to fix that. No. You got the basics in place. Get organized and just jump to it. Just do it. Jump into it. You cannot overcome fear until you overcome fear. And the only way to overcome fear is to do it. You don't realize how great you are until you step into that thing that you thought you could not do, and you discover that I'm more than capable of doing this. And now your level of self-confidence rises, but it only happens after you do it. You gotta just do it. Scared? Okay, I get that. That's human. But do it. Don't let anything or anyone talk you out of doing it. Get organized and just do it. The Lord told Joshua in Joshua 1:7, only be strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written, according to all that's written in the law, which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. But he said, be strong and very courageous. Why did he say that? Because I've ordained this land for you, but some of the stuff you're going to face is going to be frightful, but do it. And I'll be with you, and you'll prosper wherever you go. And in one portion of scripture, God says to Joshua, no man shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. You got to get organized, and then you have to just do it. You got to just do it. So I want to pray for you before I let you go today. I hope that this has helped somebody. Father, I thank you for this time that I've had with people from all over the nation and probably other nations around the world. And God, this thing of struggling with our confidence is a reality across the board. You know, this supersedes, overrides racial, sexual, religious, ethnic, any kind of barriers. This overrides. All of us struggle with this at points and at times in life. Now, Father, I ask you to supernaturally touch every person that is hearing my voice right now, the thing that is before them and the thing that they need to step into and do. God, I thank you for infusing them with an energy, dear God, of confidence, that they will not only believe in you, but God, that they will believe in themselves and that they will take action, because nothing will happen until they act. And so now, Father, my prayer is that you would touch every one of us and give us that assurance that you're with us. And let the words that we've shared with the people of God today, let those words sink deep into the heart and produce a harvest. Produce a harvest of manifested destiny. And now, God, I pray for every person whose confidence has been broken by other people, raised by parents or parents who weren't there. And God, they're struggling on a deeper level. Father, I thank you because you are father to the fatherless. And I thank you for wrapping your arms around them and giving them even a sense of supernatural confidence. And God, I pray now that my words will not fall on deaf ears, but that the people of God will hear and receive and respond in Jesus' name. It's been a joy sharing with you today. Hey, if this is your kind of thing, I'm not always live. I don't always have the time to be. And lately I've been really working hard on my first online program, which is going to be entitled Transcending the Father Wound, Overcoming a Fatherless Childhood. It's going to be powerful. In this particular online course, which is only going to be offered at my website, in this particular online course, I'm going to have the input of a mental health professional, as well as I'm going to have an intimate conversation with Lisa regarding her own childhood. My wife, Lisa's my wife, and some of you know her story of childhood abuse and really abandonment and all of that kind of thing. We're going to talk to her intimately as one who's gone through it and can relate on the deepest levels of such an experience, along with, the spiritual component of what I have to share with you. It's going to be 5 sessions. It's going to be a powerful thing. Each session is probably going to be an hour plus, with the teaching, the input from the mental health professional in my conversations with Lisa. Each session will be hour 15, maybe some even more. But it's going to be powerful, so be looking out for that. Go to my website, rcblakes.com, and sign up for my mailing list so that when the program drops and the new website is launched, you'll be the first to know. If this is your kind of thing, like it, give me a thumbs up if I did pretty good. If I didn't, that's cool too. You give me a thumbs down if that's your thing. Comment, and of course, if this is your first time here, love for you to become a part of our family. Our emailing address is pastorrcblakes@gmail.com. Lisa and I both are there. You can find my books on Amazon or at my website, rcblakes.com. It's just an amazing ride that I've had, and I enjoy every moment that I get to share with you. With that being said, I'm done. I love you. I thank God for you. I'll try to go back and read your comments. I know that there are a lot of them. I wasn't ignoring you. I was just trying to stay focused because some people get distracted when I respond to you, and I'm trying to make certain that I get the message across to everybody. So if I don't read your comments, it's not that I'm ignoring you. It's that I'm trying to be sensitive to people who don't need to be distracted and want to get everything that I'm saying. All right, so I love you. God bless you. And remember this, you are on top and you're going higher. God has more in store for you. God bless you. Talk to you next time.